Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ryan the Ride Mechanic channel. I am Ryan the Ride Mechanic, and today we're going to be talking about wheels and vibration. It's a subject that is easy to come up on a lot of rides, and I wanted to go over some in and outs, and all this is off of a viewer question. So let's get to the question and let's talk about some vibration in the wheels. Here we go.
Now get ready. Here we go.
Alright, this one's going to be good, and first of all, thank you very much for coming back and watching another video. I really do appreciate that, so thank you everyone out there coming back to watch another video. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much. Today's question actually came to us from Door Handle Media. When I was a ride-op at two different B&Ms, I was told by maintenance that the way of the passenger carriages can develop flat spots on the wheels if they sit on the rail for long periods of time instead of in the maintenance shed. Is this true, and can it be a variable why some B&M coasters have varying rattles depending on the train? For instance, I recall one of 3 trains on Hulk Islands of Adventure being much shakier than others. Okay, so flat spots on wheels. Easy topic to cover. Love covering stuff like this, so let's talk about it real quick. Okay, so first we're going to identify what is a wheel. Got it? I don't think we have to go over that again. Next, we're going to identify what a flat spot is on a wheel. See how this is round? Sometimes it's flat. Got it? I don't think we have to go over that again. So the wheels, right? These are polyurethane, which is basically a rubber type material. These can withstand a lot of pressure on them. They're meant to withstand lots of pressure on them because roller coasters are heavy and they weigh a lot, and there's a lot of G-force on them. Right? So you have one coach that weighs, let's say, 4 tons. There's 4 wheels on them, 4 road wheels on them. So each road wheel is responsible for taking roughly 1 ton of weight. Okay? Simple math. 1 ton of weight on this wheel all the time. When it goes around the corner and you get a 4G turn, now that one wheel is now carrying 4 tons of weight on that one wheel. Makes sense, right? So when the train is sitting static in the station, it's sitting on that rail. Well, the wheel is pretty much flat. Some of them have a bit of a curve that's a cup to them. Some of them do, but some of them don't. This one doesn't really have one at all. These are machine flat. And so what you have, I'll just use the other wheel as an example, is you have a flat surface sitting on a round surface, and right there where the two meet is where all the pressure is. So it comes out to be a little spot on that wheel that's only about the size of a nickel, only about 15, 20 millimeters in diameter. All the weight sitting on that one particular spot. Well, as the weight sits on that spot, we'll say it's 20 millimeters in diameter. As the weight sits on that spot, that urethane rubber starts to crush, and that spot becomes 20, 22, 24 millimeters, 26 millimeters, 28 millimeters, 30 millimeters. And now, if you were to suddenly take that wheel, lift it off the track, and turn it, and look at it, you could visibly see an indentation on the wheel where that was sitting. Does that happen quick? No, it doesn't. It takes a while to do. Typically overnight is how long it takes for that to happen. So when we get to the ride, and there's plenty of rides that don't get put onto transfer bays and stuff like that. When we move the ride out in the morning time and send it on its first cycle, typically you can hear the flat spots as the train dispatches. So as the train goes out, you'll typically hear all the wheels almost in unison start going thump, 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 thump as the train leaves the station. Now, the good news is that the urethane itself doesn't have much of a memory to it, which means that after just a handful of cycles, those flat spots have gone away. They're more intense on rides that are accelerated and things like that. They do more damage because the wheels picked up very fast. Most roller coaster wheels, they got to go up a lift hill, and they got a lot of time just to slowly work those out before they get up to speed. So it's not a big deal there. This is the point in the time in the video where I remind everybody to like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you find yourself coming back watching videos, please like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, let me know that you're here. I love reading people's comments and seeing what people do, and have some stories that they want to tell me. That's great. I love that stuff. And let me know what you think of the videos and what you think of the channel. I'm open to everything. Just let me know. So it sounds like at this particular park, the maintenance department was telling them that this is the reason why we want to put the trains away and leave them in the maintenance shed as long as possible before putting them on the track. And I agree with that. They don't need to be sitting on the track for a long period of time. Of course, it's up to the maintenance department. Most of the time, I ran stuff right to the wire's edge. Like, there was no time before that to just idly put things on the track and let them sit for a long period of time, because park was opening. I needed to get them out quick. I need to get that done. Some parks have that ability. They send crews back. They're like, yep, we ran the trains, we tested everything, we put the trains away. Maybe it's a park with a really good night shift, and they PM the ride at nighttime. And then the morning time, all the the maintenance crew has to do is just do a couple of preliminary checks, and then maybe half hour before operation gets it, pull the trains out, do their block checks, sign everything off, put it into operation. Could be something like that. The weight of the passengers on the vehicles, not really too much there, because there's not much weight when you talk about people. And these vehicles are very heavy without the people on them. People don't add that much weight to each particular vehicle itself. So there's not much loss there. So we're going to move on to the subject of vibration. Have you ever been on a ride that basically, when you're going along, I'm not talking about a wooden roller coaster, let's start with that. I'm talking about a steel roller coaster. Have you ever been on a B&M especially, and when it starts getting down to the bottom of the drop where it's picking up its heavy speed, it starts vibrating, and by that you get the feeling like, man, it's going to shake the fillings out of my teeth. It's going to, you could barely hold on, the thing shaking so bad. And it's not a really bad vibration like a really hard vibration. It's a very fine vibration. It just feels like a buzz underneath the train, but it gets really bad when it gets high speed. So these wheels, made out of polyurethane rubber, right? Now their B&Ms are notorious for using speed wheels. Speed wheels are made out of nylon. Nylon is a very hard plastic, and they use that because the wheels have very, very, very little friction. I was told, this is just what I was told, that the speed wheel assemblies are done during the commissioning period of the ride. For instance, on the floorless coaster I worked on, the manufacturer said they slowed the train down. They slowed it down on purpose because they didn't want it going fast. So they slowed the train down by adding tons of urethane wheels. And then it got too slow, so they put 4 nylon wheels, or 4 speed wheels, in the middle of the train. We experimented with moving those towards the front of the train, towards the back of the train. Didn't really make a difference anywhere, but the key is that they wanted 4 speed wheels in each train. And that's the way the manufacturer left it, and they said that's the way it's set up, that's the way it should be. And I know most of the older B&M rides, they prefer to use the trim brakes, and they run like all nylon wheels on those things. All nylon wheels, like every single road wheel is a nylon wheel almost. So what happens with nylon is that they don't flat spot like these do, to where the flat spot goes away afterwards. The flat spot causes a rhythmic jumping in the wheel, literally. Like as the wheel turns around, it hits that flat spot, and then it jumps into the air. Just exaggerate it, right? It jumps into the air and lands and creates another flat spot. And then as it comes back around, it rolls over that flat spot again, jumps into the air, comes back down, and hits on that other flat spot again and makes it a little bit bigger and a little bit odder. Then it comes back around, hits that flat spot again, jumps, comes down and hits that flat spot, and because it's odd shaped now, it bounces twice and then turns a little bit more and hits on a third flat spot. So nylon wheels get that flat spotting, and it starts migrating. It starts going all the way around the wheel surface, all the way around the thing. And then what that does is that prevents that wheel from wearing evenly, and it starts wearing unevenly because of all the flat spots. So what you have after a little while is you have a wheel that is no longer round. That's the problem with nylon wheels, is that they literally come out of round. And one of the reasons they can do that is because there's no way to bond like this wheel right here, right? You can see that this urethane, which is the gray part, is bonded to the aluminum rim. That's the silver part right there. Okay? So you can see it's bonded to that rim. It's not coming off of that rim. Nylon, they have not found a way to bond nylon plastic to that aluminum. There's no way to do it. So what they do is they make this aluminum rim essentially in two pieces. It's like a clamshell. They both look like a V like this, bolted together in the center. So you take it apart, and then what you're left with is a nylon ring. I have a random race here I could use as the, we'll just use this race right here, bearing race. You're left with it. You buy a nylon ring, and that is the wheel that runs on the surface. That is your running wheel. So you buy that nylon ring. You're supposed to put them in water and warm them up and grease the inside of them too. And then what happens is you get those clamshells, right? Remember the two halves of clamshells I was talking about? You get your rim clamshells, and then you heat that up, put it on there, and then grab the other part and bolt it together. And then in a very quick pattern, you tighten all the bolts down on the inside of that speed wheel. And then what happens is it holds that nylon element in the center, and now that is correct on the rim. If your bolting pattern is off, if the rim didn't compress flat and it compressed odd like that, you've now squished that nylon to one side or the other. The nylon's now deformed, and it's not truly round when it's deformed like that. It's out of round at that point in time. So sometimes you can take it apart, put it back together and correct it, and then sometimes you can't, and it's permanently damaged at that point. There is a way to true them. You can't do them on the vehicle. You have to take the wheel off, and you take it back to your machine shop, and you hook the wheel up to a lathe, and you literally use the lathe, to spin a flat surface back onto that. That's a band-aid. Temporarily it'll work, but really you're going to have to replace that nylon ring in a little while, because when you take the material off of that, because everything's not quite centered, you're getting rid of the majority of the vibration, because you're getting rid of that egg-shaped outer roundness in the wheel. So now it's round again, but now it's not balanced, because now more material is missing from one side than the other. So it's round, but it's not balanced. It's more weight on one side of the wheel than the other, and depending on how much that weight differential is, that will again cause that wheel to start hopping on the track. And remember, these jumps they're minute. Pretty much can't even measure them with a feeler gauge. It's actually the material compressing and decompressing. That's how minute it is. But for nylon wheels, it really messes them up. But if you get an egg-shaped wheel or out of round wheel on one side of that, let's just say Coach 4, that's where my speed wheels were. So if I got one egg-shaped wheel on that right-hand side and one egg-shaped wheel on that left-hand side, they're really going to mess with that coach bad. And that thing's going to be shaking all over the place. The other thing that I've talked about in a different video, I believe I talked about it at my live event a while back, was the wheels being towed. So wheel carriers have to point straight. The rail is going straight ahead, so the wheel carriers have to point straight. So this is the wheel. Here's the profile, right? If you look down the wheel like this, down the track, it should be, see if we line this up with the camera right here. Should look like that, right? You shouldn't be able to see either side of it. But some wheel carriers, if you get them on the track, you could see the wheel sitting like this. The wheel's pointing off to the side of the track, or like that. It's pointing off to the side of the track. That's not good. You want both wheels the whole time to be pointed perfectly straight ahead, just like that. Now, there is one step better than straight ahead you can get, because straight ahead is great. It's the least amount of friction possible on the wheels. But actually what you want is you actually want the wheels towed out. So if I was looking down this train right here, let's say you were standing behind the train looking at these two wheels and I'm standing in front of the train, you'd actually want the wheels to be like this. You want them towed out. That's where the front of the wheel is wider than the back of the wheel. And there's a way to measure tow. You could do it with a tape measure and stretch it across the track and check it. B&M's do its nice little thing. It's actually a bar in the back that connects the two wheel carriers to move. That bar has special pins on the inside of it. And one has just through bolts that hold it. The other ones had this little reduction sleeve on the inside. Well, when you measure everything out, if you put those two things together with just regular bolts inside of them, the wheel carriers are straight ahead. But when you put the reduction sleeves inside there and use the other two bolts to put them together at that point, it tows the wheel carrier out just a little bit. And that helps the vehicle run straight down the track. Reduces that vibration, because that vibration, what you're feeling, is the train wandering down the track. Right? It's literally going down the track. And as it goes down the track, we're talking a straight section here, it's literally going to the left, and then the guide wheels on the right hand side tighten up, and then it pushes the train back. And then it goes back to the right hand side, and then the guide wheels on the left tighten up, and then it goes back. And it literally just sits there and does this. The entire time it's running, around corners and everything, it just sits there and goes left to right, left to right. Very small level. It comes across as vibration. You typically don't feel the coach wander left to right. You feel the vibration come through to you. So that's one of those other things you want to do. So you have wheels with flat spots on them that could vibrate, regular urethane wheels. You have nylon wheels with flat spots that cause out of round wheels that can also cause your vibration. Then you have wheel carriers that aren't pointed straight ahead, and that could also cause vibration. So there's lots of factors in there. Grease can help, but grease is just a band-aid. That's all it is. You get something where the wheels start vibrating like that, you could put a lot of track lube down on there, and then that will fix the problem, kind of, for just a little bit until it rubs the grease off of it, and then it starts vibrating again. Because again, it's just a band-aid. Track lube should last a long time when it's done properly. Let's see. Euromet sells stuff out there. It's called Track Lube Plus, I believe it is. Great product. We loved it. We used it on most of our stuff. Smelled like Pepto-Bismol. Kind of an odd statement, but it did smell like Pepto-Bismol. So I was like, huh. We always referred to it as the Pepto-Bismol Track Lube. But, and then let's see, what did we use on, for our impulse ride, we used dielectric grease, because that's what they said that needed on there. Static discharge is really big on impulse rides. You have to get the static away from the train, otherwise it goes to the drive, causes the drive to shut down. And then the B&Ms use a homemade mixture of, let's see, it is 30 weight motor oil and Castrol Safety Draw 772. And what Safety Draw is, because it took me a while. I was like, what is this stuff? What is it? Safety draw is actually stuff you pour inside of holes as you're machining them, and it actually is like a wax. It coagulates the metal chips as the drill bit's going down inside there. You're machining whatever it is out of there, and it actually coagulates that stuff and brings it out easily, smoothly out of the hole, and it has less chance of those chips getting caught up inside of the bit, causing your hole to become messed up on the inside. So it's actually really for machining and cutting. But what they did is they suspended, let's see, it was 4 parts motor oil to 1 part safety draw, and you shake it up really good, and the safety draw starts to bond with the motor oil, and it becomes like a slurry. Like it's not quite oily anymore. It's kind of more like a thick, I wouldn't say paste, like syrup almost. So it actually kind of stays on the areas you apply it to when you use the stuff. And the best way to apply track lube is, there's 2 mindsets. One is to apply it to the train on the wheels. You just use a paintbrush and just apply it all the way around wheels. And you do that daily. And the second way to do it is to go to the low spots and literally squeeze some on the track. And then as the train comes by, it picks it up and takes it throughout the track. Have to reapply it after it rains a lot because the stuff washes off. I think that's enough for this video. I'm Ryan the Ride Mechanic. Have a good day, and remember, stay off the air gates. Bye.